Edward here. It is June 9, 2023, and I'm going to do an update here on this story because it has really captured me. It's very, very interesting story, and I've been watching it. Any updates all day, I've been watching for updates on it, doing all the research that I can of what's available out there as to what happened on that day. But I do want to address one thing that a couple of people commented in the previous video about how could I be skeptical of UFOs if I'm a remote viewer. I recently did an interview with Sean at Through a Glass Darkly. It's a two-parter. Part 2 just came out the other day. I talk in here about how I feel about esoteric targets and UFOs in a long interview here. I'll leave the link below, and you can go, if you want to, give that a listen to get a longer explanation of how I feel about esoteric targets, specifically the UFO topic. Because the main element is my skepticism is from the messenger. Who is telling us about the UFOs and the aliens and stuff like that? That's what I'm very skeptical of that. And a lot of it goes right back to this here. Wernher von Braun. And what he told this woman, Carol Rosin, who was his personal assistant for Wernher von Braun between 1974 and 1977, later in his life. Wernher von Braun was a Nazi scientist. He was brought over to the United States with the Project Paperclip program, where these Nazi scientists were brought over and they were put to work here in the United States. He worked for NASA. He was a rocket scientist, and this is what he told her. This is what makes me skeptical about the information that comes out and is made available to the public for public consumption. This is what I'm skeptical about. Listen to what she has to say.
The strategy that Wernher von Braun taught me was that first the Russians are going to be considered to be the enemy. In fact, when I met him in '74, they were the enemy, the identified enemy. We were told that they had killer satellites. We were told that they were coming to get us and control us, the dirty commies, that whole story. First, the Russians were the enemy against whom we're going to build space-based weapons. Then terrorists would be identified, and that was soon to follow. We heard a lot about terrorism. Then we were going to identify third world country crazies. We now call them nations of concern. But he said that would be the third enemy against whom we would be needing to build space-based weapons. And the next enemy was asteroids. Now at this point, he kind of chuckled the first time he said it. Asteroids, against asteroids we're going to build space-based weapons. So it was funny then. And the funniest one of all was against what he called aliens, extraterrestrials. That would be the final card. And over and over and over during the 4 years that I knew him and was giving his speeches for him, he would bring up that last card. And remember, Carol, the last card is the alien card. We're going to have to build space-based weapons against aliens. And all of it, he said, is a lie. He didn't mention a timeline, but he said that it was going to be speeding up faster than anybody could possibly imagine. That the effort to put weapons in space was not only based on a lie, but would accelerate past the point of people even understanding it until it was already up there and too late.
That's why. That's why. And what he was saying is happening now. Here's an article on NPR. NASA crash into asteroid to test planetary defense. We have the Space Force that was launched, deter aggression in, from, and to space, and all that. We got the World Economic Forum calling that we're in a new world order and all that kind of stuff. This is why I'm skeptical. The messenger is where my skepticism is. So let's go back to this, to what may have, how this ominous feeling that I had on April 28th may be related to this story. Let me just quickly go through it, and then we'll listen to some things that he was saying. This was the first thing here. Some kind of wall or something like that. Something stops, or is stopped, or landed, or crashes into something. It's like a dark cloud. Things go dark or shadowed. Well, what does that mean? The feeling is of something devastating, but how? At its most extreme, it feels like the world changes, but that might just be from the up-close perspective. So, okay, we'll go back a little bit and how's it look? Something heavy moves in, might be from above. Something comes down, crashes, and it seems like time stops. An event that stops time, or so it seems. It's a turning point. Monday, May 1st, 2023 is remembered. And then I have this person, and they're standing in front of this thing, this dark, moving wall. I need to be vague. I didn't fully understand that. I'm starting to get a sense of what that may be now. Now let's listen to the story here that came out 22 hours ago.
George.
As you know, this is not our first UFO rodeo. We first heard about the incident in early May via the Metro Police grapevine. The incident has a lot in common with other bizarre cases from around the world. An alleged crash, strange beings, and bits and pieces that don't make sense. But the police took this seriously, and so do we. Just before midnight on April 30th, Skywalker.
I don't know why they keep saying April 30th. It's clearly time-stamped that it is past midnight. It is the 1st of May when this thing comes down. I don't know why they're saying April 30th. It's time-stamped on the police officer's camera.
Watchers across several western states saw a bright fireball streak through the heavens. A police officer working in the Northwest Valley caught a glimpse of the colorful object on his body cam. At nearly the same time, a Ring camera in the area recorded a strange noise and what sounds like a crash. One family living in a ranch-style home had a much closer view of the object. Two brothers and their father were working on a vehicle in their yard when they caught a glimpse of a sparkly object as it came crashing down, then were hit by what they describe as a shock wave. One of the witnesses, a young man named Angel, has stated when the brothers looked into the yard where the object landed, that spot was obscured and blurry, as if by unknown form of camouflage.
Like that. Camouflage wall.
What they saw next prompted a frantic call to 911.
So there's two people or two.
This is the fella here. Let me get to the part here where he's talking about what happens when he looks at this creature in the backyard.
Then my brother calls me, and he told me shakingly, "Look behind the forklift." So I look. Keep in mind I'm facing the forklift, and then I see the alien creature. So when I saw it, it was a tall, skinny, lengthy creature. He was a gray greenish color, and when I looked at it in the eyes, my body just froze. Like the same experience as having sleep paralysis. Keep in mind I'm staring at him and I look at his whole body.
So he freezes like he's in paralysis. What he's describing reminds me of what I was trying to describe here, where time stops. He's frozen. He can't move, and he's in a state of paralysis. Now, when I'm listening, I'm waiting for this guy to say it felt like time stopped, and I would just fall off my chair. But we'll see, because he did do an interview. He says at the end of this one, he did an interview with some YouTuber or whatever, and that is going to come out. And I'm waiting to see if he's going to say that it felt like time had stopped for him. Then I'll know for sure that this is what this event was that I was seeing back then. So that's, well, that's my little update here. This is just a fascinating story. I'm really, really intrigued by this. This is really something. And but I wanted to explain what I mean by my skepticism. I am skeptical of the messenger. Do I think that on planet Earth we're the only life form in the universe? No, I don't think that. I don't think that at all. I'm very skeptical of what people tell me. I'm skeptical of what people try to sell me. And I'm very skeptical of what the government and corporate media tries to manipulate us with. That's where my skepticism is. So we'll see if I can, if more of this guy's stuff comes out that might be relative. I may do another video, but man, this is just a fascinating story. Many more to come.